trust a soul. Look, I never give a human being total faith. You end up as a heavy in a floating wraith. To trust a brother is a completely deadly move. It takes you out your heavy surviving groove. You basically hand them a loaded 45 and pray to God they let you stay entirely alive. You put the heavy barrel right against your chest and hope they do not put you to a final rest. I look into the eyes of my entirely closest friend. I wonder if he wants to bring me to my end. The loyalty is entirely fragile like a glass. I watch the heavy project shadows slowly pass. If I decide to open up my heavy mind, I leave my absolute security behind. The metal is incredibly cold against the skin. You let somebody close and they commit a sin, yeah. No breaks. Look, they say that paranoia is a heavy mental tax, but trust will put you flat upon your heavy backs. I keep my heavy secrets locked inside a vault. If I get betrayed, it is my completely own fault. You give a man your trust and you give him the clip. You let him hold that heavy iron on his hip. He knows exactly where your heavy armor ends. The absolute entirely danger of your friends. They know exactly how to absolutely make you bleed. They plant a very dark and a violently heavy seed. I walk the project hallway completely all alone. I guard my heavy physical and mental throne. The trigger is incredibly sensitive and light. I do not trust a shadow in the heavy night. The Queensbridge architecture makes you very cold. A heavy tragic story that is widely told. Yeah. Keep your circle entirely closed. Watch the hands. Look, I've seen a lot of brothers take a heavy fatal fall because they trusted someone standing by the wall. The enemy is usually completely out of sight, but friends will kill you in the heavy broad daylight because you gave them all the heavy ammunition. You put yourself in a violently bad position. I keep my heavy distance from the smiling face. I navigate the entirely deadly project space. My circle is entirely non-existent now. I made a very heavy and a silent vow to never hand a loaded weapon to a snake. I calculate exactly every move I make. The trust is just a bullet waiting in the dark. It leaves a heavy and completely fatal mark. So keep your heavy feelings entirely locked away, surviving for another entirely violent day. No trust, no mistakes, line strikes, push, let the beat fade out.
The bulb is buzzing.
You cannot see what is in the dark. Look, I walk into the building and the bulb is blown. It flashes like a heavy strobe entirely alone. I see a heavy shadow, then it goes to black. I gotta keep my heavy eyes upon my back. The electricity is buzzing like an angry high. I wonder if I make it to my floor alive. The strobe effect is playing tricks upon my brain. I navigate the entirely heavy project pain. It gives me half a second just to view the hall before the heavy darkness covers up the wall. I cannot see exactly who is waiting there. I breathe the heavily, entirely freezing in the air. The flickering is hiding all the project goons. We operating underneath the heavy broken moons. I keep the heavy iron entirely drawn in tight. Surviving in the middle of the strobe light. Flickering hallway lights inside the danger zone. I walk the heavy project labyrinth completely alone. The strobe effect is hiding all the heavy street grind. A completely perfect setting for a violent crime. You see the heavy reaper for a single flash. Before your physical body turns to heavy ash. Flickering hallway lights inside the danger zone. I grip the heavy metal entirely to the bone. The bulb goes out and leaves me in the absolute dark. I listen for the heavy and the violent spark. It flashes back entirely bright and blinds my eyes. I look into the entirely heavy project lies. I see a figure standing by the heavy stair. The light goes off and absolutely nobody is there. My heavy heart is beating through my winter coat. I keep the heavy iron pointed at her throat. The strobe is like a movie of my heavy death. I hold my entirely freezing and my heavy breath. You cannot aim a weapon if you cannot see. The flickering light is plotting heavily on me. It shows a heavy barrel popping out the shade. I calculate the heavy violent better made. The strobe effect is making everybody blind. I leave my entirely heavy peaceful thoughts behind. Flickering hallway lights inside the danger zone. I walk the heavy project labyrinth completely alone. The strobe effect is hiding all the heavy street grind. A completely perfect setting for a violent crime. You see the heavy reaper for a single flash. Before your physical body turns to heavy ash. Flickering hallway lights inside the danger zone. I grip the heavy metal entirely to the bone. Yeah. It went completely black. Watch your step. Look, I finally reached my heavy metal apartment door. I drag my heavy boots across the dirty floor. I put the heavy key inside the project lot. I listen to the ticking of the heavy clock. The hallway light decides to entirely finally die. I hear a heavy footstep and a silent sigh. I step inside the dark and absolutely shut the gate. I navigate my completely terrifying project fate. The strobe light is a heavy and a deadly street test. I pull the heavy armor off my completely entirely chest. If they decide to rush me in a heavy blind, I got a lot of heavy hollow points to absolutely find. They physical entirely violently broken frames. We playing in the darkest heavy project games. Stay in the dark. Do not trust the light. Queensbridge. Let the beat fade out. Yeah. Look, I see everything from up here, the whole board. Look, I take the heavy elevator to the highest floor. I push open the heavy rusted metal roof door. The wind is howling completely across the dark edge. I look entirely over the heavy concrete ledge. The project is a giant and a heavy chessboard. I watch the heavily, violently moving street horde. I got the heavy sniper vision in the freezing dark. I see the heavy undercover creeping by the park. I watch a heavy deal going down by the corner store. I know exactly who will start a heavy project war. The elevation gives me completely perfect sight. I see the heavy tragedy unfolding in the night. You think you're making entirely secret heavy moves. I watch exactly how the violent project grooves. The height removes me from the heavily violent mud. I watch the pavement catch the heavy project blood. The rooftop sniper looking at the heavy street. I watch the heavy predators and the victims meet. I see the violent chess moves right before they play. Surviving for another entirely dark and every day. The altitude is giving me a heavy guy view. I know exactly what the enemy is gonna do. The rooftop sniper looking at the heavy street. I watch the heavy predators and the victims meet. I see a brother walking entirely into a trap. I'm reading a completely heavy project map. He turns the corner right into a heavy ambush line. I read the heavy danger in the dark project sign. I do not interfere because I am a silent ghost. The heavy observation is the thing I value most. I watch the heavy consequences violently unfold. The absolute entirely tragic stories that are told. The sirens start to flash, completely blocks away. I knew that it would happen at the end of the day. I watched the heavy task force rolling up the block. I listen to the ticking of my heavy mental clock. You cannot hide your agenda from the project sky. I watch the heavy, completely fake brother slowly die. I calculate the angles and I calculate the math. I see the heavy destruction on the violent path. The rooftop sniper looking at the heavy street. I watch the heavy predators and the victims meet. I see the violent chess moves right before they play. Surviving for another entirely dark and every day. The altitude is giving me a heavy guide view. I know exactly what the enemy is gonna do. The rooftop sniper looking at the heavy street. I watch the heavy predators and the victims meet. Yeah. You cannot hide from the sky. I see it all. Look. I pull the heavy jacket tight around my freezing chest. I'm standing high above the heavily violent mess. The strategy is entirely clear from up above. I watch the absolute entirely lack of project love. The pawns are moving heavily to a violent death. I blow a cloud of entirely freezing heavy breath. The kings and queens are hiding entirely in the shade. I watch the absolutely heavy deadly choices made. I step away entirely from the heavy concrete ledge. I walk entirely, completely on the mental edge. I take the heavy stairs completely down to the ground and walk into the heavy and the violent project sound. The knowledge is a heavy weapon in my right hand. I rule the absolute entirely heavily frozen land. Watch the roof, eyes everywhere. Queensbridge, let the beat fade out. Yeah. The metal box. A sitting duck. Look, I step inside the heavy metal project box. I hear the grinding of the heavy cable locks. The space is incredibly entirely tight and small. I press my heavy back against the scratch wall. The doors close heavy with a violently loud bang. I navigate the entirely heavy project slang. The elevator jerks and absolutely heli stops. I wait for the arrival of the project cops, but nobody is coming to a heavy rescue here. I swallow up the absolute entirely freezing fear. The fluorescent bulb is entirely flickering out. I hold back a terrified and heavy project shout. I am completely trapped inside a metal cage. I calculate the entirely heavy violent rage. My hand is firmly gripping on the heavy steel. I know exactly how a trapped animal feel. The elevator is a heavy ride entirely to hell. I smell the incredibly heavy project stairwell smell. The metal doors are keeping me entirely locked inside. There is absolutely nowhere for a man to hide. I listen to the heavy cables violently groan. I face the heavy reaper entirely all alone. The claustrophobia is a heavy mental weight. I calculate my heavily violent project fate. I listen to the heavy breathing in the dark. I wait for the entirely violently deadly spark. If they pry the heavy doors entirely open wide, I gotta make sure that the enemy completely died. Because a metal box is just a heavy standing tomb. I wait inside the heavily entirely freezing room. The walls are closing in upon my heavy mind. I leave my completely entirely peaceful thoughts behind. I tap the heavy barrel on the metal gate. The paranoia making me entirely heavily weight. You cannot run away inside a heavy square. I breathe the absolutely heavy suffocating air. I wonder who is waiting on a heavy project floor behind the entirely heavy rusted metal door. I keep the heavy safety completely entirely off. I hear an entirely heavily distant project cough. The elevator is a heavy ride entirely to hell. I smell the incredibly heavy project stairwell smell. The metal doors are keeping me entirely locked inside. There is absolutely nowhere for a man to hide. I listen to the heavy cables violently groan. I face the heavy reaper entirely all alone. The claustrophobia is a heavy mental weight. I calculate my heavily violent project fate.
Yeah!
Stuck in a box, stuck in a box, stuck in a box. Look, the heavy cable suddenly entirely start to move, I step entirely back into my heavy survival groove. The numbers lighten up above the metal frame. I play the absolutely heavy, deadly project game. The elevator reaches up the heavily, entirely shaft. I feel a heavily, violently freezing winter draft. The door slowly open to the heavy project call. I wait for the absolute, entirely, violently tragic fall. I keep the heavy iron entirely pointed straight. I navigate the completely heavy project hate. The hallway is incredibly, entirely, completely clear. I walk entirely out of the heavy metal fear, but I will never take the heavy elevator ride where heavily, completely project brothers violently die. I take the heavy stairs completely every single day, surviving in the absolute, entirely project way. Take the stairs. Never get trapped, never get trapped. Queensbridge. Beat fade out. Queensbridge. Never get trapped, never get trapped. Queensbridge. The beat fade out, fade out, fade out.
The snow is falling heavy. It covers everything. Look. The violence happens in the dead of winter night. The hollow points take away your project light. The physical body drops upon the freezing avenue. The police do exactly what they always do. They draw the heavy chalk around the broken frame. Another victim in the deadly project game. But then the blizzard starts to heavily blow down. It covers up the darkest secrets of the town. The white flakes land upon the tragic yellow tape. The shooter made a perfectly, entirely clean escape. By morning time the block is completely pure and white. You cannot see the heavy terror of the night. The blood is buried underneath the freezing freeze. I feel the heavily, entirely bitter winter breeze. Chalk outlines in the heavy winter snow. The absolute cold is reality, I know. The evidence is melting in the morning sun. You cannot see the damage from the heavy gun. The neighborhood forgets exactly who just bled. The frozen water washes away the project dead. The chalk outlines disappear without a single trace. Nature covers up the heavy violent space. Nature covers up the heavy violent space. I walk across the exact same bloody concrete spot. I know entirely where he took the fatal shot. But looking at the ground, it is entirely white. The weather hid the absolute, completely tragic sight. It makes you feel like life is just a fading ghost. The freezing winter elements always hurt the most. The blood is frozen deep beneath the heavy slush. The morning commute is a heavily silent rush. Nobody knows a brother took his final breath. The heavy snow is an accomplice to the death. The temperature erases all the heavy project pain. The chalk is washing slowly down the heavy drain. I step upon the ice and hear a heavy crack. I know the Grim Reaper is absolutely coming back. Chalk outlines in the heavy winter snow. The absolute cold is reality, I know. The evidence is melting in the morning sun. You cannot see the damage from the heavy gun. The neighborhood forgets exactly who just bled. The frozen water washes away the project dead. The chalk outlines disappear without a single trace. Nature covers up the heavily violent space. Yeah, it melts away, just like a memory. Look, the killers get away without a single heavy clue. The winter does exactly what it wants to do. The chalk outlines only last a couple heavy hours before they fade beneath the freezing winter showers. I pull the heavy scarf entirely round my neck. I navigate the absolute, entirely freezing wreck. Transient nature of a heavy project life, cut completely short by a heavy bullet or a knife. The winter does not care about the tears we cry. Covers up the heavy spot where brothers die. I look at the entirely blank and frozen street. I calculate my absolute, entirely next retreat. The snow is falling heavy on the project roof, erasing all the physical, entirely heavy proof. Watch your step. The ice is red underneath. Queensbridge, let the beat fade out.
The block is entirely too quiet. I cannot close my eyes. Look. I lay upon my mattress in the project dark. I hear a hollow gunshot echo from the park. The quiet makes me paranoid and wide awake. I wonder exactly how much trauma I could take. A silent night is just a very deadly lie. I need to hear the violent project lullaby. The ambulance is screaming down the avenue. The window glass is flashing bright red and blue. I close my tired eyelids when the sirens wail. Another project brother going straight to jail. Laying on a freezing cold metal bed. I know another rival is absolutely dead. The wailing of the cruiser is my only peace. I listen to the heavy engines of the street police. It rocks my physical body right into a sleep. I watch the deadly project shadows slowly creep. Sirens for a lullaby in the freezing cold. A tragic project story that is widely told. I cannot fall asleep unless the block is hot. I listen to the echo of a sudden gunshot. The violence made my mental state completely numb. I wait for the dark and the heavy sleep to come. The flashing lights are dancing on my bedroom wall. I listen to another broken project brother fall. The paramedics rushing to the yellow tape. Another mass shooter making an escape. The ghetto bird is shining down a heavy beam. It operates inside my dark and violent dream. A normal person panics when they hear the sound. Dying resting safely on the battleground. Because the heavy chaos means they busy now. I wipe the freezing sweat directly off my brow. The sirens are a dark and a very tragic song. I listen to the grim melody all night long. It tells me that the concrete world is spinning right. The violence is entirely normal in the night. If I hear absolutely nothing in the hall, I keep my heavy back against the plaster wall. The wailing is the only trusted childhood of friend. It stays with me completely to the bitter end. Sirens for a lullaby in the freezing cold. A tragic project story that is widely told. I cannot fall asleep unless the block is hot. I listen to the echo of a sudden gunshot. The violence made my mental state completely numb. I wait for the dark and the heavy sleep to come. The flashing lights are dancing on my bedroom wall. I listen to another broken project brother fall. Yeah. Sing me to sleep. Let the precinct entirely roll out. Look, I lost my human empathy a long time ago. I watched the bloody project river slowly flow. The sirens sound exactly like a mother singing. I hear the hollow automatic weapons ringing. It puts my broken psychological state at ease. I listen to the absolutely freezing winter breeze. I tuck the heavy iron directly by my side. The screaming ambulance is my only true guide. It rocks my deep trauma completely off the bed. I block the violent nightmares out of my head. The lullaby is echoing right through the glass. I watch the heavy undercover unit slowly pass. I drift completely off into a dreamless sleep. The sirens are a dark promise that the projects keep. A terrifying comfort in the concrete maze. Surviving through the absolutely darkest day. Close your eyes. The block is entirely loud tonight. Queensbridge. Let the beat fade out.
Water turns to ice. Their hearts do exactly the same. Look, the temperature drops below the heavy freezing line. I look at the entirely frozen project sign. The puddles on the concrete turn to solid glass. I watch the heavy predators completely slowly pass. The winter wind is blowing off the East River. The people on the block do not even shiver, because the blood inside their veins is already cold. A heavy tragic story that is widely told. The environment completely strips your empathy. A violent and entirely frozen chemistry. You step upon the ice and hear a heavy crack. You always gotta watch your absolutely heavy back. The weather is a mirror for the project soul. The heavily entirely violent winter toll. I zip the heavy jacket to my freezing chin and walk into the heavy freezing project sin. Frozen puddles and entirely heavy cold blood. The ice is covering the heavy project mud. The East Coast winter makes the physical body freeze, but the mind is colder than the winter breeze. You cannot find a heavily warm heartbeat here. We navigate the absolute entirely freezing fear. Frozen puddles and entirely heavy cold blood. The ice is covering the heavy project mud. I see your brother bleeding in the heavy snow. The project ambulance is moving entirely slow. The neighborhood is looking with completely blank stare. Nobody has a single heavy ounce of care. The compassion froze a couple hardly decades back. We live inside a completely heavy dark attack. The tears turn into icicles upon the face. Surviving in a completely heavy freezing space. The young kids do not play inside the winter time. They study in the absolute entirely heavy crime. The cold blood is a necessary survival trait. I calculate my heavily violent project fate. The sun is shining but it does not bring heat. I walk upon an absolutely entirely frozen street. The physical and mental chill are both the same. We playing in the heavily frozen deadly game. Frozen puddles and entirely heavy cold blood. The ice is covering the heavy project mud. The East Coast winter makes the physical body freeze, but the mind is colder than the winter breeze. You cannot find a heavily warm heartbeat here. We navigate the absolute entirely freezing fear. Frozen puddles and entirely heavy cold blood. The ice is covering the heavy project mud. Yeah. Ice in the veins. Snow on the concrete, look. The thermometer is breaking in the heavy dark. I walk across the heavily entirely frozen park. The statues are the only things that warm our hearts. The violent neighborhood entirely tears apart. Any single feeling that you try to keep, the heavy project freezes incredibly entirely deep. I leave a heavy footprint in the white snow. I watch the absolutely heavy winter wind blow. The puddles reflect the heavy in the dark sky. I watch my heavy, peaceful, entirely feelings die. You gotta be a glacier just to heavily survive, to keep your heavily freezing physical body alive. I pull the heavy beanie over my cold ears and swallow up my absolutely heavy freezing tears. The frozen puddles match the heavily cold blood. I step entirely over the icy project mud. Stay cold. Do not melt. Queensbridge. Let the beat fade out. Let the beat fade out. Look. The front door is compromised. Take the window. Look. I hear the heavy boots coming up the project stair.
I feel the heavy tension in the freezing air. They're hitting on my heavily reinforced steel door. I grab the heavy metal off the wooden floor. The deadbolt is incredibly strong, but it will break. I realize the heavy life that is at stake. I slide the freezing window completely open wide. There's absolutely nowhere left for me to hide. I step upon the heavy rusted iron grate. I navigate my terrified violent fate. The fire escape is shaking underneath my weight. The hour of the night is incredibly heavy and late. The rusted metal screaming with a heavy squeak. The architecture of the building is very weak. I look incredibly far down at the concrete drop. I pray to God my heavy physical heart do not stop. The rusted fire escape is my only way out. I swallow up a terrified and heavy shout. They kicking in the heavy door right behind my back. I navigate the absolute entirely dark attack. Hanging on the heavy iron in the freezing chill. Surviving on my absolute and heavy will. The project fire escape is a deadly rusted trap. I'm falling completely off the violent map. I hear the heavy door hinges finally giving way. I know I cannot absolutely entirely stay. I climb down to the entirely freezing floor below. I am moving incredibly violently slow. The rust is cutting up my entirely bare hands. I execute my heavy and my desperate plan. A flashlight beam completely cuts across the night. I'm caught inside a very heavy, deadly fight. They looking out the window that I just entirely left. A heavily violent and a terrifying death of my completely entire heavy peace of mind. I leave the apartment completely entirely behind. I hug the heavy brick wall, trying not to fall. I listen to the heavy undercover task force call. The metal ladder sliding down the heavy brick. I gotta make a heavy move entirely quick. The rusted fire escape is my only way out. I swallow up a terrified and heavy shout. They kicking in the heavy door right behind my back. I navigate the absolute entirely dark attack. Hanging on the heavy iron in the freezing chill. Surviving on my absolute and heavy will. The project fire escape is a deadly rusted trap. I'm falling completely off the violent map. Yeah. Do not look down. Keep moving. Look. The freezing wind is completely ripping through my coat. I feel the heavy panic rising in my throat. I make it to the alley, completely in the dark. I run entirely towards the heavy project park. The fire escape is shaking from the heavy weight. The enemies are entirely filled with heavy hate. They climbing down the heavy iron right behind me now. I gotta get entirely out, but do not know how. The rusted metal echoes in the silent streets. I hear the entirely heavy pounding of their feet. I disappear completely in the project maze, surviving for a couple entirely darker days. The rusty fire escape saved my heavy life tonight. I disappear completely entirely out of sight. Watch the window, watch the window, watch the window. Never get trapped, never get trapped, never get trapped. Queensbridge, Queensbridge. Let the beat fade out.